Welcome to the Lost Signals Discusses Film and TV. Using the revolutionary Manzur-Amosi Thurlow scale,
or MONS,
we scrupulously review these art forms with an emphasis on narrative structure. Join us for another entertaining episode.
Hello and welcome back to the Lost Signals Reviews Film and TV. I'm your host, Rich Perry, here with Jonathan Ian Manzer. Stephen Amosi.
Hello.
Chris Morgan.
I got a soul to sell.
And tonight we are reviewing the Netflix TV series, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. And I think Ian's got a funny log line for us.
The devil went down to ABC.
He's looking for a show to steal.
He was in a bind.
He was way behind.
He was willing to make a deal.
With Netflix!
And now we're going to do a dry run. We're going to run through the plot for the show. And Ian, you're starting us off with that, right?
Yep. So, Melissa Joan Hart plays Sabrina. Hey, did I watch the wrong show again?
It's the Predator all over again.
No, this is Netflix remake or reboot of Sabrina the Teenage Witch series with a completely different tone than the old ABC family television show. Sabrina is a young woman in high school who is half human, half witch, and she is pulled between two worlds of her friends who are human, but her destiny as a servant of the Dark Lord. She has two aunts, one who is a very friendly butterball type character, and the other a very stoic, very devout follower of the Dark Lord. She has a cousin Ambrose, who is the best character in the series. Mm-hmm. And it's dealing with her dealing with the devil and, you know, these two conflicting lives. And that's actually one of the major themes of this work. But it starts off
for me.
It starts off well. It starts off very intriguing with her initially rejecting the destiny of being a full-on witch. It kind of falls, I feel, into maybe not Monster of the Week, but kind of she has to go to this one point by the end of season 1. And you, as the audience, know what that point is. That which is for her to fulfill her destiny. And this is very much leading up to that point. It reminds me of Preacher season 1, where I know that the Preacher character needs to get to this one part, and now I'm waiting for him to get there. Same as I'm waiting for Sabrina to get there. And that's why I'm going to give this a 2 overall, because of that kind of feeling of inevitability that sat over the first season and just waiting for that the shoe to drop in a way.
Yeah. There were a lot of like really interesting plots. The thing with reviewing a TV show as opposed to movies, which we've done a lot more of, I think, is that there's a lot more possibility for kind of sags in the middle, which I don't think that this show really sags anywhere, but you're right. Like, there are parts of it where I'm like, just let's get on with it. Like, let's get to where we're going. And I think that the plot does a good job with advancing her arc in a realistic way, but there are certainly times where I'm like, where I was thinking, you know, this could be moving a little bit more straightforwardly into the line of, like, you know, she's going to like be forced with a choice. And to be honest, I kind of assumed that she would eventually have to be forced onto the path that she chose at the end, which was like going and like signing her name in the book. But I wasn't 100% convinced that she was definitely going to do that. at least not right away, like in the first season, and which, spoiler alert, she does, in order to save her friends and things like that. I think the interesting thing about plot here is that action, they do a really good job of pointing out that action drives a wedge between her and her friends. Not only her and her friends, but like ends up bringing her like closer to her witch and warlock family. So I'm interested to see how that plays out later on in the series, which is a good, a nice little drop-in cliffhanger for this season. I liked it, but I think there are parts of there are things that we're going to talk about that I liked more. So I think you're right in terms of this. I'm probably going to give it a 2 for plot as well.
I see 2 weak points in this. Number one, I felt like the Nightmare Demon, while it was a good episode, kind of felt like the Monster of the Week. And the trial with Daniel Webster, I really wish that had gone more than one episode. I really wish that had they had gone with that more, because I think that had a lot of potential to it.
I agree.
Which is really hard, because if this were not a binary scale, this would get a 2.5 from me.
2 3/4 from me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but the thing is, I mean, those are like the two, aside from maybe like, Harvey, which he wasn't that bad.
We're getting into characters.
I know. This is kind of hard, because, I enjoyed the thing from beginning to end. Like I said, there were a couple times. Is it enough to give it a 2 versus a 3? Go on, Rich. Come back to me.
All right. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was going to give it a 3 on my way in. Like, I enjoyed it enough throughout the whole season. I felt the last episode was a bit rushed to me. Like, I know, but I know it was, like, within the story at least, like, Ms. Wardwell was getting super desperate to make things happen. Mm-hmm. She's just like, fuck it, big finale. and then like the Spellmans one-upped her by causing a tornado. So I get why they did it, and like why they had to do it. I think I would have liked more if she had ended up making this decision somewhere in season 2.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of wish I wish the season were actually 13 episodes. I think it would have loaned itself to it, because there are things they could have milked a little more, like the trial, or maybe if you're going to hold that off till season 2. Yeah, I can't wait to see what they do with the Solstice episode, given where they left it.
Now, interesting part is that since you say that it shouldn't have been the conclusion, what then is the natural conclusion that you would like to have seen?
I would have liked to have seen a more natural falling out between her friends. Like them to maybe another episode or 2 of her, or play up more of her keeping secrets, and like them like starting to like pick up on it and be like, come on, you're dodging this. And then like having that happen and having that be the reason maybe why she starts to consider turning or leaning more towards her witch side. Where like and then like either Wardwell or the other witches start playing up like that alienation, where it's like, see, this is how it starts. Yeah. This is where you're going to end up.
Yeah, because there's a lot to do. There's a lot of characters, a lot of moving parts, and they're all well developed. But again, that's why I thought this would lend itself to 13 episodes better, because I think what we're talking around is like there is a bit of pacing. That might, because we all know, I mean, I agree with you. I think the end of season 1's where she should have signed her name. I'm just playing devil's advocate with Rich. Well, if you're going to move it to season 2, you'd have to elaborate on these other points. I don't know. Go on, Rich.
I mean, I think there's a lot of things that you could do, to end the season with. There are points of season 1 that if they like played them up a little bit more, I think could have been the end of season 1. Like you could have had season 1 end on the trial, right? If you stretched out other episodes a little bit longer, or like put that trial back a little bit further in the season, and then you could have, like, honestly, they could have even had that be a 2-part, like the trial is the finale and the opener of season 2. I think that would have been an interesting thing to do. Something like that. But then you run the risk of having a lot of season 1 feel like padding.
Yeah.
Which already, to me, does.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say a lot, but I know what you mean. I think that there are points where it's like, yeah, this episode is just a filler for, to get us to the next.
I mean, does anybody
episode.
really care that much about Tommy?
No, I think you guys convinced me. I
It
think
was about Harvey.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's true.
They spent a lot of time in this developing secondary characters, whether you're dealing with Prudence, Susie, was it?
Yeah.
What was her other friend's name?
Roz.
Harvey. That I know that their relationship can't be completely gone after this season, because they spent so much time developing every one of these characters. I don't know. It's not bad. And I understand what they did. It's just not perfect, and that's why I'm giving it.
Agree. I'm gonna stick with a 2.
I think I'm gonna have to give it a 2. Viscerally, I liked it, but breaking it down, it's kind of like you understand. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts. They did a good job with what they had. Again, I kind of wish it was a couple episodes more.
All right. So 2s all around.
Mm-hmm.
Brings us Steve-O.
With themes, well,
Themes.
there are interesting themes throughout. There's like this sense of community that I think is a really strong theme throughout this, and like who's your tribe, who are your people, like Sabrina is stuck between 2 worlds. She is actually, so like, I expected this going into her not to have such a strong connection to the witch community and to like eventually get brought into that, but she actually does have a fairly strong connection to both these communities right off the bat, which I kind of like about it. She has her friends that she goes to school with, and then she's told she can never talk to them again or see him again. She's like, understandably like, what the fuck? And her being like half human and half witch is a really big touchstone in this show, and I think that they do that really well throughout. Her ties with the human community seem like based on stronger ground, I guess. Like, the witch community kind of fucking hates her the entire time
with sympathetic reasons, in a way.
Yeah.
She's like she like constantly shits on their entire religion.
She does. She just like, hand waves any kind of rules that they try to like enforce on her. It's like, nah, I'm my dad's daughter, and also I'm only half witch, so whatever.
They treat her as Harry Potter should have realistically been treated. Because she comes in there, always steals the limelight.
Mm-hmm.
She's entitled as... No, we're not talking about characters here, which I'll get into more on this when we get to who Sabrina is as a person. But, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's most of what I had to say. I think I actually really like the themes of this. Is like, what is it to be stuck between 2 worlds?
Yeah.
And she is like, thinking back on it, she is like an overly competent character, I think, to an extent. Almost like
She's
not
too smart for her
until
own
she's
good.
not
quite a Mary Sue, because she does have her
she's
failings,
not, yeah.
and I like that about the character. But like, she's like there's like a trope that goes with Gilmore Girls, I think, that's like the overly competent like orator, character. Okay.
No,
yes.
no,
Chris
no.
Morgan.
I just thought of it. I'm like, she's literally the road to hell that's paved with good intentions, because
Yeah.
that's exactly how she ends up being signing the book. And that's she with the whole thing with Tommy, the way she screws. I mean, she thinks she's doing well, and she gets so
Well,
basically.
This is character stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
But let's talk themes.
Yeah. Well, what you brought up about the whole community aspect, I was ready for them to just immediately make the witches the bad guys,
Yeah.
and to see them so concerned with like upholding.
So yeah, they're like law, basically, right?
And then like even like them getting excited for like the big feast and like all these other things, or like the dinners that they were.
Well, who isn't excited about cannibalism?
Fair point.
But the other thing about the community thing, I'm sorry, but it just occurred to me when we were talking about Mrs. Wardwell, is that everybody else is telling her, "Oh, this is great." She's getting conflicting informations from Faustus. It's just like, it's about freedom, blah, blah. Everybody's telling them their interpretation of what it means. Wardwell is actually throughout showing her why she needs to take this path. So everybody else's tell, Wardwell's kind of like show.
Also creating the path that she needs to take.
Yeah. So I mean, so it is interesting when you're talking community, because, and I know a lot of this is bleeding over to maybe character and style or whatever, but probably not style, but as part of a community, she's also not just getting conflicting messages between the human and the witch side, but within the witch side, she's getting many different messages. I mean, even in terms of like Ambrose and her one aunt, whose name I'm blocking,
Zelda
Hilda or Zelda?
What'd you say?
Hilda or Zelda?
Hilda.
Go on. Do you want to make a point about Hilda?
No, I'm just saying that Ambrose is like, this is great. And he seems to be, kind of more accepting of it. Hilda's a little more, has a little more trepidation to her. She's kind of like,
so does Ambrose in a way, like in his,
after she
his
gets
opening
excommunicated.
speech.
yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, I mean, he is, but that's what I'm saying. He seems to more accepting of it. And you've got Zelda, who's like the true believer, but there's still flaws in her faith as well. And Faustus is about power. I mean, everybody's got their different take on this kind of thing. So it is communities Steve-O, is like a really, really strong theme in this.
I think that is interesting.
Well, we're lucky that humans in general don't have a conflicting viewpoint on what it means to be a good human.
No, but that's what it gives it the verisimilitude. Like it grounds what this could be a very easy, as one of you said, to make the witches bad and to be very clear cut. But there's a lot of gray in this.
I want to bring up duality for a second, because I think it's a very prominent theme throughout this. You have obviously Sabrina being a witch and a human, but all of her Susie stuck between two genders in a sense, and facing all the challenges that Sabrina faces through having the duality of being witch and human. You have Harvey, who is not interested in being the coal miner's son, and he is forced to live that life, and he wants to be an artist. His brother, too, would have been a football player and got off to college, but he couldn't give up that one aspect of his life to appease his family. I don't know if Roz does or not.
Well, she's got the whole family thing too, and then she's on a time limit with her eyesight.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know if there
Roz
is
is
a
just
duality
a Stephen King book.
Yeah, that's true. But I think it's very prominent. I think you could also see it in Prudence to a certain extent between being
She doesn't like she starts showing signs of like not being like, as soon as Sabrina starts making herself known and stomping on the religion, like she starts to question it as well. Especially after finding out that she's really her father's daughter.
Right.
So I think that's a very prominent theme, that being torn between two aspects of yourself.
And it's also interesting that you made me think of Nick. I thought I was going to hate Nick right away, but Nick, I can't pin what the duality on him is, but there is a certain. It doesn't seem like many of these characters aren't struggling with some kind of, whether it's greater or.
Now, I don't know if Nick's just a smooth talker, but he does have a line in there talking about how he realized he's slightly jealous of humans to some extent, which goes against and makes him more sympathetic to them.
They're not allowed to love anybody more than Satan.
Yes.
Right. And when he, at the end with Harvey, he's just like, she sent me here because she loves you. Isn't that worth forgiveness or something like that? Like,
yeah. So, I mean, I don't necessarily know if that's something, a duality that he can conquer, but it's a duality that he recognizes.
Yeah.
So. One.
Good stuff. One's all around, I think?
One's all around.
Chris, you're up with Antag.
The antagonist. Well, we could go on fate, destiny versus self-determination. I mean, that might be a theme, but that's also, you've also got the overwhelm. Everybody keeps saying it's your fate, it's your destiny, it's your fate. You've got Faustus, and you've also got,
Satan himself.
Well, I was going to say no. He's the
protagonist. I absolutely agree.
We follow Satan throughout.
I don't know what Satan is, but if you're gonna say antagonist,
he's a jilted lover. That's what he is.
I'd say Lilith Wardwell. Spoiler: Lilith, Queen of Satan, or Faustus, because they seem. I mean, actually, she probably more than anybody, because more than anybody else, she's really playing everybody.
But it's never her actual It's not her goal. It's Satan's goal. She's doing it for him. Like, her goal is to become queen. Like, this is just like her trial, or her It's like him sending her out to get coffee.
She is the catalyst for everything now.
Look, Sabrina Spellman, or her parents at least, signed a contract. Satan just wants what signed. Yeah, exactly. I don't begrudge him that. if Sabrina hadn't been signed the contract when she was young or whatever, like her parents did, then he would be at fault. But no, he's just enforcing rules. He's being a lawful individual here.
Well, that's more than anything, the wishes are lawful for sure. They follow laws to a fault, including the thing that nobody. Well, I don't know. A lot of them do seem to like the feast of eating one of the other witches, but
they were delicious.
Yeah, that was kind of a cop-out, too. I was expecting a main character to die. Or hoping for it.
They set it up who was going to be the one to do it.
They did, but still a cop-out, I think. Anyway, I agree.
We'll always remember her.
I agree.
Day player number one.
Lilith, I suppose we'll call her. I think I
what about
will
Principal
take
Belky?
He was just a dick.
Principal Balky.
I couldn't even. Yeah, Cousin Larry. I like the part where he got freaking possessed. That was cool. But I don't know. I see him more as a side character.
Yeah, I kind of hope Satan uses him as a vessel.
Yeah, just
so we get to see Satan's personality more.
Once a year, you see Satan come in through him. Once a season.
Just to go back to Faustus for a second, I don't think that he is he's a villain the same way Snape was a villain.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Harry Potter. That I actually think that there's probably a redemptive arc that's going to hit him when there need more viewers in the 5th season. But regardless, I don't view him as. I think that Lilith, Miss Wardwell, whatever, is. Lilith is actually the main antagonist of the series.
I think so too, and I think that the actress does a really good job, and B, I think that it's just a really interesting character that can go a lot of different ways, out from where she is at this moment. So I'm looking forward to that.
I actually want to know how nobody noticed that she was different. She goes from wearing more conservative clothing to showing up with New dresses, hair down, makeup all done.
The principal noticed.
That's
He
true.
liked it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I
he was
gonna-
into it.
Yeah, he was totally into it.
I was waiting
Donkey.
for at least one of the kids to be like, "Hey, buddy, notice she's coming out of her shell a lot."
I actually think one of the NFL players, football players, did and was punished for it in a way.
The other thing I like about Wardwell, Lilith, is that she's earnest. There's an earnestness about her. She's not this. It would be very easy for her to, every time somebody's off, she's away from anybody else, to be like this mustache twirling. Yeah, she's got a sinisterness about her, but she's also got an earnestness about her that I found interesting. I'm not sure if it's the character as written or if it's the actress or if it's a combination of both.
She's also really good at changing her plans on the fly.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, she's the queen of demons for a reason. You don't get that title.
It's like
on this
I was waiting.
It's just an honorific.
I was waiting for her to have like that villainous breakdown at some point, but it never came. She's just
Yeah.
like, just always had a stack of backup plans.
Yeah. She's good.
And then like whenever something just like fell into her lap, just rolled with it.
yeah.
But she's going to be a good, because she's always also about temptation too.
Mm.
She's always dangling the carrot. She's always, she's propelling a lot of it, even with, Roz.
So what happens when Satan doesn't make her queen?
Ooh.
I
Yeah.
think
Because you know that's
it.
going to happen.
I want to see that battle.
Well, Satan's doomed. And,
Sabrina and Wardwell versus Satan. Yeah. Anybody excited for that?
Be a sweet album cover.
Yeah.
Let's have Harvey draw it.
All right. Well, are we all ones on this? Sounds like
yeah,
we're
we're
all
all getting ones on this.
And it brings it to me with protagonist. So as you can tell by the title of the show, the protagonist is Harvey.
I was going to say Salem, but
We haven't
No,
even mentioned
Sabrina,
Salem.
she's a solid protagonist. I liked watching her struggles. I liked watching her hubris get the best of her.
I liked watching her struggle at the end when everything was falling apart. Sorry,
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
that
But like here, like I love how everybody like basically warned her every time she was just like, "It worked out because I'm that awesome." They're like, "No, you got lucky,
Yep.
and it's gonna blow up in your face." And it eventually did. She handled it, I guess, as best as she could.
I have to give this show a lot of credit because I liked Sabrina at the start, and then I hated Sabrina. Because again, everything worked out fine, and she was, and it wasn't like it just reset like in those kind of show 90s sitcoms
Yeah.
like Sabrina the Teenage Witch. No, this is traveled over,
One out
and
of
she
the
just
hat.
kept like feeling herself more like, yeah, I got this. And when it started to collapse, I was conflicted because I was so happy to see that smirk wiped off my face.
Case in point, like I gotten home, I think last night, he was rewatching some episodes, and it was the point where she's waiting for the one weird sister to crawl, like resurrect out of the ground, and Ambrose just like loses his shit.
Yeah.
And then it just gets quiet. And he's just like, infamous last word, or she's like, everything's going according to plan. He's like, infamous last words.
yeah. But that's exactly why I said before, and I did jump the gun by saying that she is the quintessential road to hell paved with good intentions. And you're right. She's like but she gets cloying for a while, and and you're like, well, they did not. They went there. They went.
Actually, I just noticed this all helped a lot towards her path to signing the book, because the more cause she avoided using magic a lot.
Mhm.
You could tell she avoided it in the beginning, and like the more she used to solve her problems, the more addictive it became.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was the big thing. Like, was, she. I mean, it's a very good point, right? Like at the beginning, you're like, "Oh, she's super competent. Like, I respect this character." And then you're like, holy shit, no, this never, like, life doesn't work this well for anybody in the world. Like, it just doesn't go this right for anybody. Like, this is bullshit. And then when it starts to go wrong, you're like, good, finally, let's get on the road with this. Let's see where this goes. And like, you know, I like that about the show. It plays with your expectations in that way. And in terms of the character, I think they do it really well. It's like, oh, yeah, if everything was going this right and you just like somehow came out on top every time you tried something crazy as fuck, then you would become like kind of full of yourself. And like it's at that moment where you're way too full of yourself that you really fail, and you can fail the hardest.
Yeah,
you know?
I think it was about like halfway through the season when I started like siding with the witches.
Yeah.
On how much they did not like her. Like,
yeah.
Man, I just want somebody to kick her off that fucking soapbox.
That's the point when the witches actually started becoming more prominent in the storyline.
Yeah.
So you're then have someone to be like, yeah, I agree with you. So I think that whoever wrote the script handled it really well.
Yeah, and the other thing about it is that with Sabrina, it's like when her greatest triumph turned to be like trying to save Tommy, or trying to save Harvey when he went down to the mine, ended up being a catalyst. And then the more she tried to fix, the worse things got. So it wasn't even everything, like you said, everything was perfectly set up. She's using magic. It's becoming more addictive. Okay, she can protect Harvey. Well, she can't. She can bring, and you're right. It starts snowballing, and before she knows it, she's signing the book.
Case in point, necromancy without reading the fine print.
Yeah.
It's like his soul goes back to his body. You didn't even read.
What was that from Doctor Strange?
What?
The Doctor Strange, where he was just like,
they should put the warnings at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sabrina Salmon hoisted by her own petard.
Mm-hmm. So for that reason, I'm going to give her a 1.
Yeah.
I am too.
Because of the hoisting.
Mm-hmm. It's not often you get to see a protagonist like start becoming unlikable and like start becoming super fallible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, I like you so much more. Because
well, that's what kept her from being a Mary Sue.
The Mary Sue setup, I think, helped with the inevitable downfall, which is nice.
Right,
Mary Sabrina.
Mary Sabrina. Mary Sabrina. Ugh. We're all terrible.
Oh my God! Yeah.
We have to go on to the next question quickly.
Yes, quick, Ian, save us.
Ambrose is
Ambrose.
one of my favorite characters of all time.
Yep.
He is what Salem was.
Yeah,
in the
definitely.
original series. But so much more likable, so much more followable. Everything about his arc, his triumphs and tragedies, he's what really, even though it's a very competent show in its own right, he is what I think elevated to a great series. And that's not even mentioning every other character, but I'm just going to say Ambrose, 1, and move on to everyone else.
Salem, the one we haven't mentioned yet. Really interesting take on the origin of Salem as a familiar who is basically inhabited by a demon, I guess, or like some sort
goblin.
Of lost soul, goblin soul thing. Like the perfect Deus Ex Machina that is completely explained beforehand, so it's not quite a Deus Ex Machina. But like, I love that right in the beginning, they're like, we're going to set up a Deus Ex Machina right now, and just, if you're ever in trouble, call on me. It's like the fucking, what is it? The first thing that comes to mind is like the stupid quarter from Ready Player One that he gets. But like, you know, it's that character, like it's a Salem in this. So Salem in the ABC show talks much easier to understand, you know, that character, or for the writers to give an understanding of that character. And that in this, Salem does not talk, but has a personality.
Well,
and has conversations with Sabrina.
Yeah.
She responds to him. You obviously don't understand what he's saying, but
Go on.
a really interesting character Insofar as like, I feel like eventually we're gonna get the backstory on Salem, and I'm excited for it. I
I
want
hope
to
he
know.
gets a day in the limelight episode.
Yeah, I want to know what this goblin has been through.
Well, I know Kiernan Shipka they found out on set that she was allergic to cats. So, I mean, the two things I wonder if Ambrose was given a little more. And also, to your point with, the Deus Ex Machina, it's just like they were put in a position where less was more of Salem.
Mm.
And what I'm saying is, knowing from behind the scenes that she was allergic to it, I'm like watching like, oh wait, maybe how they worked around it. And to both of your points, I think.
Maybe. But yeah, I thought that Salem was a good character. You have Faustus, you have Woodward. We've talked about a lot of these characters pretty in depth already. So I will leave off there. I think that a lot of these characters are great, but we've mentioned a lot of them already. And Chris, you still have to
I'm going to mention Hilda. I think she was a great character because she really came into her own, and it wasn't anything that was like overnight. I mean, it was just kind of, she came out from under Zelda's shadow and really became her own person by the end. And I really liked her character arc. And Susie I really liked a lot because both the actress and the character are struggling with or not struggling, but are transitioning in a way. I'm not really sure about the actress. I just found out about this last night, but the character definitely. And I liked her family's history, and that her dad, when she decided to put on a dress, or I should say his dad decided, Susie put on a dress, and his dad showed her the family pictures, and was basically like, you be you. Mm. And again, to me, I pair her and Hilda part because in a lot of ways they came into their own. I mean, because she was doing battle with the football team, and then she confronted him and lost that, and then she had to come into her own and find her inner strength. And ultimately, it actually turned out to be Hilda, who said to him, it's just like, what happened to you is not your fault. I know why you're a bully, and you know your friend here lusts after you, and stuff like,
yeah.
It's just like, I
like to think that the two of them became a couple shortly after.
Yeah, they like quit the football team and like
see them next season like having a picnic together out in the field.
Rowing a boat in the middle of the pond. Yeah, I can see that.
But yeah, so I really liked I think they had two of the more subtle character arcs, and I appreciated them both. That's all.
Yeah.
I liked Prudence a lot. I especially the whole episode where she was the what's the name of the person going to get in or going to be eaten for the feast?
I don't remember.
Whatever the sacrifice name is. And like
Freya?
But like I think what won me over is like the very next scene where she's having an orgy in Ambrose's room.
Yeah.
Oh, and Ambrose and Nick are there?
No, Ambrose was not there. Nick was.
But didn't Ambrose
Ambrose
showed
was
up?
Totally there.
Wait, was he really?
Yeah.
100%.
Ambrose would have turned out.
And then Ambrose was like, the next day he was like, yeah, they wore me out or whatever. Like he mentioned it at breakfast
I gotta rewatch
or something.
That. So I was honestly
get that Ambrose action. Make sure you see that.
No, the reason like I guess I didn't notice is because I was waiting for him to stick his head out. I was like, hey cousin.
Yeah.
But like anyway, like I liked how she started off as like the one-dimensional villainous leader of the 3 side characters.
Mm-hmm. The Weird Sisters.
And then like eventually came into her own. I was hoping that she'd inject a little bit more personality into her sisters, but maybe. And I also
maybe next season.
Yeah, I also enjoyed Satan as the
Satan was fun.
Yeah, like the sad, like the jealous, like it's just like an ex-boyfriend that's just trying to like keep tabs.
Like a shitty ex-boyfriend.
Yeah. Like everything that happens where he just like pops up trying to scare her, that doesn't work. So he like sends in his new girlfriend to go fuck with her, and then that doesn't work. And then, yeah, there's
There are so many
characters.
fucking side characters in this, by the way.
If we're doing our actual like person we're connected with, because both of you did, I'm gonna say Zelda. I liked her a lot. Smokes like I do.
Oh, that's what we need to
likes
get you.
the dark arts like I do, and it enjoys rules like I do.
We need to get you one of those cigarette holders like she had, the little
Yeah, for sure.
the cigarette tongs.
So I like a brief mention to Nick. Brief mention
Nick
to
Scratch.
Nick Scratch. To Principal Balky. I forget what his last name actually is. Brief mention to. I had one other one.
The lawyer who was awesome.
Yeah.
The weird guy who ran the bookstore that.
The weird guy who ran the bookstore. That's what I was thinking.
Data from Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah.
Wonderful, just fun little side characters that they had, throughout.
Harvey's dad, awesome.
Harvey's dad, monster, but yeah.
Uncle
well.
Colonel Ty, he was awesome too.
Yeah, the uncle who.
Or was he the
possessed?
grandfather? Was it the
I think he was an uncle. Susie's uncle, right?
No. I'm talking about Harvey. Was it his grandfather who showed up and?
His grandfather. Yeah.
Is it grandfather? Yeah. Okay, Colonel Ty there.
Overall, this is a very solid supporting cast.
lot of supporting characters, and most of them, if not,
I think it really helped with
most
that.
of them were well done.
Yeah, it really helped that small town feel
Yeah.
to have so many characters and to have them actually.
Oh, we didn't mention Roz either.
Oh yeah.
Because
One of the
She was
core
okay.
group. She has The Shining, and I don't know. Hopefully they do.
She
more.
She's
had,
no
like-
Scatman Carruthers.
she had she's going blind, but that wasn't really as interesting of an arc as anybody else had.
And also, she wasn't really going that blind.
No.
It wasn't like they didn't put good focus on her going blind. Like, she at no point in this season was blind enough for it to really matter at any point.
I don't think you've mentioned Harvey yet.
Yeah. I was just about to say.
The boyfriend.
Yeah, we mentioned him jokingly.
I was going to say
times.
Harvey. I mean, I liked him as a character, and I nothing, but he doesn't really have
A soul.
no, he doesn't really have that much of an art. He's kind of like, which is actually it's kind of cool because a lot of times in these movies, it's the woman who is the plot device that everybody's,
Soulless
i.e. Pirates of the Caribbean, Elizabeth Swann. She is a plot device. She's not a character.
We told she becomes Pirate King.
Well, I hate, but yeah, I don't acknowledge anything past the first movie. But anyway, but
There are like five other movies.
All of her character development.
yeah,
It's just tossed out the window.
yeah. Well, does she develop anything? Past
Doesn't
the
matter. We're not talking about
All right,
Pirates of the Caribbean.
no, my whole point.
Jesus Christ.
All right, my whole point to this thing is that it was good to see that Harvey is a character, yes, but in a lot of ways he's a plot device. He is the modus operandi, or he's the reason. He more than anything is the reason that Sabrina oversteps her bounds and does the resurrection thing. I mean, he is the catalyst. I mean, it's so.
So you're saying
Actually,
he's a protagonist?
I would have liked
No,
it.
he's not the protagonist.
I would have liked it if they had gone into, or they showed that Sabrina had continuously wiped his mind after that.
Just
gives him,
kept doing it every day.
Makes his personality so much duller.
If
I was just
she
gonna say
just
that.
admitted to him every day that she was a witch and then wiped his mind every single day. He's like, somehow I've always known. She's like, yeah, I told you every single fucking day for the last year.
For those listening and not watching, Ian just with this pen did the thing from Men in Black, the
Neuralizer.
the neuralizer.
Leukemia or whatever.
The old
Yeah.
flashy thing. He
Yeah,
flashy
the flashy thing. And I was just about to say the same thing. So
Harvey, I'm just going to give you an eye test.
How many times have you flashy thinged Harvey?
thanks for the egg rolls, Harvey. Gotta go.
Oh, hey, Sabrina. Why are we in the woods? You,
I feel like I'm losing large portions of my life, Sabrina. I don't know what's going on.
told me you wanted to see
Hey,
this
doctor.
tree. It's your favorite tree. It is my favorite tree.
And Harvey, get an interior decorator because damn.
He's got to clean his brother's brains
He's
off
not.
the wall.
He's not wrong. Yeah, that's true. That's true too. Hopefully, I brought him back.
Look at the flowers, Tommy. Let's go play catch, buddy.
He's good at catching things. That's the one thing they say.
He's gonna catch this bullet.
Oh god!
Instead of an Edgar suit, a Tommy suit.
The thing I love the most about that scene isn't even as dark as it was and as sad as it was. It's the fact that the Weird Sisters were still stuck outside in that invisible fucking bear trap.
Oh yeah!
I remember, like, she was walking out and, like, they didn't pan out yet. I'm like, are they still there? She just walked straight by them.
Also, since you never see anything, I'm completely convinced there's a wild Tommy running around in the woods behind the fucking town somewhere. Like, to this day, like, they're gonna find him in 2 seasons. Like, oh shit, Tommy, what are you doing here? He's just like mindless fucking zombie, like wandering the woods for the last 2 years. Anyway, so supporting characters, ones all around?
Yeah, I think so.
Chris, you're up with, I don't even know right now. Dialogue.
No, that's Steve-O, isn't it?
Is it?
Yes.
All right.
Yes,
Well,
my bad.
That's okay. I mean, so here's the interesting thing. A lot of this dialogue is shitty teenager dialogue, but like not shitty in the way that it was written shittily, just shitty in the way that I fucking hate teenagers talking to each other.
That's true.
Because I was once a teenager and I grew to realize that I was awful at being a person at the time.
You were a self-hating teenager?
I'm slightly better now, whatever you're going to say,
Explain
Ian.
so much.
And it's brutal to watch teenagers be awkward around each other, but I think they do that awkwardness pretty well in this show. And for that, I'm probably going to give it a 1, but let's hear what you guys have to say.
Sabrina has the most self-righteous dialogue.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Because she's a teenager. She thinks everything she does is right. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's frustrating dialogue for purposeful reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then Ambrose pulls it out with tearing her down with his dialogue.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, and yeah, if for no other reason, I would give this a 1 for Ambrose. All of Ambrose's dialogue.
Yeah.
I love every time he's on screen talking. I'm like, tell me a story, Ambrose. I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah. That's a funny thing. We keep the whole Mary Sue thing. It's like Sabrina's dialogue is all that kind of Mary Sue. She's always doing, the whole book, the thing with the book and the. Oh wait. Would they call the book club?
Wiccan?
Wiccan, yeah. Oh my god. What a self-indulgent, stupid fucking high school title.
I know, right? Seriously. Yeah, go on.
Okay, so what I love about the show, and this is going to style a bit, but I think it's pertinent to dialogue here, is that it's 2 completely separate genres. It's
Yeah.
the annoying high school thing, and it is a really dark and fucked up, like, horror movie at the same time.
Yeah.
And it conflicts perfectly. And the juxtaposition is what makes it funny.
I think a lot of it is perfect because Sabrina, like, that whole, like, division is driven by Sabrina trying to keep that whole horrible bullshit from her teen life.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, guys, be annoying. Be annoying with your teen dialogue. I need a distraction.
I was not a big Buffy fan back in the day, but I feel that from what I've seen, it's kind of a similar vibe. I'm not saying that Josh Whedon's dialogue, because he's very specific with what he does, is the same, but that kind of mixture of the 2 genres works the same way.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. And I'm the same way. I saw an amount of Buffy that I think is I probably saw like a season and a half worth of the 6 seasons of Buffy, but like strung out over all the entire show. And I think you're right. Like it's a similar feel to the balancing the like teen angst / like really dark like evil shit that's going on in their lives, and I really like it for that. I like shows that can balance the dialogue on that edge like that.
As somebody who is and was a Buffy fan, I've seen all 7 seasons. When
7 seasons.
Yeah, when Buffy was firing on all thrusters, I mean, that show got really dark and did some amazing, really great stories. Sabrina, basically, whoever the creators of the show saw that, learned from it, did not copy it, but said, okay, when Buffy was working, it had the darkness to it. It had the sense of humor. There was an episode where Buffy's mom died, and there's this woman who's a demon, and she's always kind of like the comic relief of it. And it was the most heartbreaking scene because everybody's kind of dismissing her because they think that she's just being kind of her old demon self, but she was being very earnest, like, I don't understand what's going on. And that's what I get a lot with Sabrina, where you've got, like, I think you said, but you've got this constant juxtaposition of things, you know, and as I said, I think when the creators of the show really looked at what the elements were for what made the Buffy the thing was, and again, without copying it, but just saying like, hey, this is how you combine elements to make it work. And maybe we are going off the style now, and I apologize. But
no, it's a very good point you made.
All right, so I'm going to give dialogue a 1.
Yep, 1 for me.
1 for me.
1 for me as well.
All right. I think it's
Chris,
and
it's your turn.
I'm going to keep on the style. This production design is probably, without question, probably one of my all-time favorite production designs of anything ever. And
that's a bold statement.
No, it is because I said this precast, and I'm going to probably say it when at the end. But this show is basically the show I've always wanted, but didn't know I want. Like, I love you could see that they did a lot with the budget, because they didn't have the money, obviously, to build out these sets. So they gave you everything they need. So it's like, all right, I'm gonna do a comparison to the way Romero approached directing Creepshow, where they're doing this very much as a comic book, okay, without doing kind of like the Dutch angles that he did in that movie. So what you do is you have a comic book. You really need to put what's in the fore. You don't have to worry about building out the back. So you've got these very, very detailed little sets, which, the school's not as big as it probably could be, the interior lobby, but it doesn't have to be because this is a live action comic book, truly. So it's got that, it blends the surreal and the real. There's always a, uncanny valley that's done intentionally. I notice sometimes, and I'm trying to figure this out on a rewatch, is like sometimes the outside of the frame is a little fuzzy and it gets sharper inside. There's a lot that's going into this. I find the style of this, I find the production, everything about it, I love. I mean, as I said, they do a lot. You could see where the budget comes through, but they actually make that work for them. And I've even gotten to the use of color. So I'm definitely giving this a super strong 1.
Chris, you stole every single point I was going to make.
Son of a bitch, really?
Oh, I mean, that was actually quite brilliant analysis of the style.
Thank you.
I was going to say, it's very Halloween to me, and I like Halloween, so.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy the cinematography in this. Is what they do with how, like, with the budget they have is really awesome. The iconography in it is really cool. I think they got sued.
They got sued?
Yeah, I think they got sued by the Church of Satan.
Which is awesome.
Which is, I'm a little upset with the Church of Satan about. I thought
No, that's exactly what the Church of Satan would do.
Why?
Exactly.
The Church of Satan
Frivolous lawsuits are
absolutely not.
evil.
The Church of Satan is fucking cool as shit.
Yeah, they're
in everything they do. Up until suing Sabrina. I guess they weren't big fans of the show. But anyway,
I settled it.
I did like all the iconography that they put into this. Really interesting shots that they had. The colors, as you mentioned at the end there, Chris, were really awesome. Like the deep reds that they had, with anything having it like the inner sanctum of the school, and like those dark blues like outside of the house. They did a lot of really, really cool stuff with colors in this. And the outfits, damn it, were really good too. I'm sorry, Rich. The outfits were really well done as well. I'll stop talking because I don't want to steal anything else from you.
Yeah, no, the outfits definitely, like Ambrose's wardrobe from like, I'm assuming most of the 70s.
Yeah,
It's probably the last time he's been outside. The whole like Sabrina's hairstyle change after she signs the book.
Yep.
Like the platinum blonde with the red. And I just like the how the aesthetic is just like kind of timeless. Like you don't know what decade they're set in. Just like Riverdale.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't watched any of Riverdale, but I hear it's like kind of a similar feel without the, Satanism.
Yeah. Well,
You'd be
I don't
surprised.
know.
Partial Satanism.
So I always like looking at stuff through genres. There were some very good horror elements in this. Some scenes that made me nervous to watch. And then there, like, it balanced everything really well, and it wasn't too much in either direction of Twin Peaks nor in Twilight Zone, or it's just kind of its own, like it covered its own niche of high school drama with horror, as we said, and I thought it balanced it all really well. So I'm giving it a style 1.
1, 1, 1, 1, 1.
1.
All right.
So that brings it to me with recommendation. Well, if you're a fan of the original Sabrina, I would suggest probably not watching this.
Did you see the footage of all of the cast watching the new one?
No.
Oh, it's great. They all kind of hated it.
Oh, that's awesome.
I mean, if you're expecting like a fun family romp because you remember watching this as a younger person, or watching it on ABC as a younger person, this is not the show for you. This is a very, very good horror TV show with elements of humor.
Wow.
And I love, like, as we just talked about, I love the character development for everybody. Like, not as, like, I think they'll introduce somebody that's one-dimensional and just, like, within an episode or two, they'll, like, have a backstory laid out. Like, 2 of the bullies. Like, why would, like, they somehow made them, like, a little bit more sympathetic within, like, a few lines of dialogue.
With one rant by
Yeah.
Hilda.
Well, yeah. But it wasn't even a rant. She didn't like cut him down. She was just kind of matter of fact and sympathetic, and she's a very earnest character.
Yeah. That could have went completely different way than I was expecting. And then it didn't. But yeah, I enjoyed the show very much. I can't wait to see the Solstice special and the following season in April.
If you're me, you'll love this show. If you strive to be like me, which I recommend, then you should watch this show. I know, here's the thing: it's right up my alley because it's gothic-y without being too horror-ish, but with elements. I just love the entire world they built, and I recommend it to anyone. It is horror with a heart. Harter?
Heart?
No, I'm done. Go.
Sure. Yeah, no. I feel the exact same way. I really like this show for kind of being it's a show that I should feel like is a guilty pleasure, but I don't even, because it's that well produced and I really just enjoy it for what it is. But it's like, It's like if you liked Dawson's Creek back in the day, except for if Dawson was a vampire or something, you know. Like, and I just really enjoyed this season. I'm looking forward to another one, so I'm going to give it a 1 for recommendation.
As I said before, this is a show I always wanted, but didn't know I wanted. I think it's a great show. And there's a lot of complexity to it. And by the way, I just want to clarify something because it's been bothering me. The whole thing with Susie, the reason I didn't mention transitioning is because I don't know if that's what the character's doing, but I love with the fact that this is somebody that this is one of her dualities. So like, I just wanted to make that clear because there might have been something anybody listening might have expected me to say that. Regarding Susie, and that's why I didn't. But overall, yes, I recommend the show. You look befuddled, Steve.
No, I'm just
okay. I was just trying to clarify something that I didn't say before, and I intentionally didn't say it. But yeah, I highly recommend the show. It's one of my new favorite. It's probably my favorite new show of the year.
Yeah. So 1.
Oh yeah.
One's all
one's
around.
all
I
around.
think for that, right? All right.
So, Ian, you gonna help get us the score?
It was 9 for all of us, and
It's a 9.
we give it a 9. Yeah.
9 egg.
7.8.
Shit, where'd that come from? 0.8's not even possible for people.
999 divided by 4. Carry the 1 is 7.65. Is that what you said?
Yeah, sure. Let's go with that.
It's a 9,
It's a 9.
folks.
Math.
And very deserving if it's a 9.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Hopefully next season will be a 10.
Yeah, we'll see.
I am very much looking.
You get
forward
that
to it.
third point on plot, motherfuckers. Right harder.
Yeah.
Not smarter.
All right. So that was our review. I've been Rich Perry with Jonathan E. Manzer.
There's also a horror baking show on Netflix, which I recommend. It's pretty
I think I
good.
heard of that.
What's it called?
Kristen McDougall, or something like that. But anyway, it's really good. They have puppets from the Jim Henson production thing.
Oh,
nice.
cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
I thought it was pretty good, and I like food shows because I'm fat.
You can 100% Google all the things that Ian just said and find this show.
Thank you, Stephen Amosi.
All right, that was
And
me.
Chris, Morgan, you have any words?
Yeah, if you can't be like Ian, you can't be like me, be like Satan.
And I guess have a good night. Hail Satan.
Hell, Satan.
I'll say it.
Hail Satan.
Editing and engineering by Stephen Hermosi. Music by Christopher Morgan. Check us out on YouTube and iTunes for the shows, and on Facebook and Twitter for updates. Or Mott's?